Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm a plant-based chef, and I can tell some of you in the audience is rolling your eyes already. Don't worry. If you've just had a burger or a rack of lamb at lunch, I'm not here to judge you or to turn you vegan. The truth is, solving the climate crisis will require more than shifting diets. If we want our planet to be able to feed 10 billion people by 2050, we have to make some drastic changes. Has anyone heard of the term food literacy? Yeah. So food literacy is relatively new, so its definition is still developing. I believe it's a term that best describes what I have been fighting for the past 8 years when I opened Grassroots Pantry to help promote plant-based eating. Food literacy isn't just simply teaching people how to cook, shop, or read nutrition labels. But being food literate helps us become more informed about our food choices. It allows us to ask the right questions. And it helps us make healthier decisions for ourselves and our families. I actually think that food literacy should be as fundamental as a subject as math, science, and languages. Food is at the heart of popular culture already. And everybody loves a good cooking show, right? So, as a chef, our lives really aren't as glamorous as what TV makes them out to be. When we first start off as prep cooks, our jobs are actually pretty brutal and repetitive. Try peeling and slicing onions for 4 hours straight, or mashing 60 kilos of potatoes in one go. Not fun. There's a basic set of protocols for every single good cook. Show up to work on time, make accurate purchases, listen to orders, prep for service, cook the same dishes over and over again, and keep your stations clean. When service is over, scrub up, clock out, and leave after a 12 to 14-hour shift. The next day, come back and do it all over again. If you stand out, chef might give you an opportunity to come up with a new dish. And if it's that good, it might make it on the menu. But if you're really that great, you might get recognized, open a restaurant, win an award for how well you've cooked, and that's it. That's pretty much it. That's how the restaurant industry has run itself since it's become normal for people in cities like ours to dine out on an almost daily basis. But in the last 10 years, a new breed of chefs has emerged. Chefs like Virgilio Martinez, who pushes boundaries in cooking with native Peruvian ingredients. Chef Jose Andres, who mobilizes his kitchen to provide meals in the wake of natural disasters. And Jamie Oliver, who aims to cut childhood obesity by half in the UK in the next 10 years. One thing in common we chef activists have is a natural curiosity to question everything. And no, not just molecular gastronomy, but how what we do is directly related to nutrition, biodiversity, and climate change. It's this curiosity that has allowed me to question everything. And it's given me the food literacy that I needed to actually make better decisions for myself, my family, and my businesses. Food literacy enables us to use our purchasing power better, because what we choose to buy has a direct bearing on whether we are restoring or destroying our ecosystem. Did you know that today, less than 1% of corn planted in the US is grown for human consumption? But that doesn't mean that you're not consuming corn in some other form. Most of the corn being grown is actually broken into hundreds of different ingredients. They show up as high fructose corn syrup in your ketchup, as MSG in your cup noodles, and as glycerin in candy bars. So understanding how our food is processed is an aspect of food literacy that helps consumers make better decisions and more sustainable decisions. But all of the social, environmental, and health aspects of food wasn't taught to me at school or at work. I had to investigate them myself. You might be surprised to know that the food industry is actually not very food literate. And food literacy should encompass everything from nutrition to composting to sustainable business management. But because it's such a new topic, there's still a lot that we don't know, especially what we should learn and how we should even teach it. So in 2003, I went to a reputable culinary school and picked up all of the skills needed to survive a very challenging industry, or so I thought. I learned everything from trimming tenderloins to searing foie gras to tempering chocolates. The healthiest dish that was taught in all of those 9 months came under the salad module, a classic tuna niçoise. 15 years later, apprentices I hired were still using the same recipes, following the same curriculums. Students in culinary school are not actually given a lot of opportunity to source and purchase ingredients on their own, because what's needed for a class is generally prepared beforehand. They're not taught how to compare ingredients based on health benefits, nor decipher labels other than the expiry date. And much like doctors in med school, chefs are given about a week or less of nutrition training. It's a joke for a profession tasked to feed people. So when diet-related deaths are on the increase, and eating out has become the norm, shouldn't it be important that we teach chefs not only how to win Michelin stars, but how to feed people with good, nutritious food? Society has left all the nutritionists and health experts to deal with all of our health problems, while we've also left all of our climate issues for the environmentalists to solve. Today, up to 37% of the greenhouse gas in the world is derived from the food sector. That's everything from land use to processing to consumption, all the way down to food loss and waste. According to the United Nations, the latest statistics actually says that the food system employs 4.5 billion out of the 7.8 billion global population. That's more than 1 in every 2 of us. So shouldn't the chefs and the farmers and the meat packers, those who are marketing food and serving food, be at the heart of this knowledge so that we can all work together to reverse global warming? The global NGO Project Drawdown has a framework of tangible solutions to reverse global warming. 15 out of the top 20 most significant solutions is directly related to food. What diets we adopt, how land is used for agriculture, and whether we include women in the decision-making process when it comes to feeding people are all solutions specified for the food sector to combat climate change. We need fundamental reform in food education should we want to reverse global warming. Without this training, those who are working in the food sector will continue to aggravate the climate crisis rather than to help solve it. So one of the particular ways that I find actually helpful when teaching food literacy in my kitchens is through the menu. We design a menu not only to appease taste and extravagance, but also to spark discussion. Because how we source and what we choose as ingredients all matters. So what I learned from Project Drawdown I was really inspired by, and I took that knowledge back into my kitchen and designed a 12-course menu for our annual Earth Hour dinner. And to do this, we used this internal training program to help our staff actually educate them and be able to serve the menu better. So take the first course as an example. It's a lactose-fermented and home-pickled vegetable with cultured pine nut cheese cream, as well as a fermented teff bread. We called this dish refrigerants because we wanted to show our diners what we can make without the need for refrigeration. Chemicals used in our refrigerators, such as fridges, freezers, and air cons, leak fluorinated greenhouse gases that can be 5,000 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And we all know that we leave things in the back of our fridge for God knows how long. And we buy way too much, and they end up going bad. So actually, our refrigerators enable us to waste food as much as we do save them. And take this other course called Soil, a display of taro melon puree with a toasted pulse nuts and toasted rice soil, and a simple Yunnan termite mushroom. It reflects our urgent need to preserve, heal, and regenerate our Earth's topsoils. Because according to the latest figures, the world has lost 1/3 of its topsoils due to industrial agriculture. At this rate, we really only have 60 years of harvest left. And you see, there's a lot of thinking happening from an academic level about the food systems. But what we really need to do quickly now is to make it practical. We're one of the rare industries in the world where the consumer and the creator are both present at the point of consumption. So why shouldn't we take this to our advantage? And for our planet's advantage too. And it isn't only the chefs that need to become more food literate. In fact, anybody who handles food, anybody who actually prepares food, and anybody who eats needs to become more food literate. Yes, that's you. Food literacy activities should start as early on in a child's life as possible. Having that knowledge, we're actually able to read a label, ask questions, and also decipher the good sugars from the bad sugars. So most of my friends actually have children, and they are very careful and thoughtful about what they feed their children in their early years. But with every year's passing, life gets in the way. The sodas and the frozen pizzas call. So it's hard to be on top of it, I get it. But what we need to do is to prioritize what we put into our bodies and increase our knowledge and awareness a little bit more each day so that being food literate becomes a part of us. It's with this knowledge is when we can actually ask those critical questions when we're at the shop and at the restaurant. And it's with this knowledge that's when we can actually influence the private sector to invest into a more resilient food system. Food businesses need to hold each other accountable by setting up measurement tools across the industry so that we as chefs, farmers, and restaurant owners can actually operate by sustainability goals, not just profit goals. We also need to push for legislative changes, such as ending the government subsidization of genetically modified corn. And because there is no single institution or infrastructure to manage a global sustainable food system, what we can do is to urge our local government bodies to agree on set standards, just like when Mexico recently banned the sale of sugary drinks and junk food to children. Look, there is no single magic bullet to solving all of our health and environmental problems. You might think, what difference is one meal going to make anyway? Long-term change requires patience, and I can tell you that it begins with you. Every time you think about that next meal, consider asking yourself these questions. How are the ingredients produced, and where do they come from? Is eating this food good for me and my family's health? Who benefits? Is the money you're spending being fairly trickled down to the primary producers, or is it staying up top? And chefs, be ready to answer more questions. The demand for healthier, cleaner, and more sustainable is coming. As you head to dinner tonight, think about where those ingredients you're eating are coming from. Perhaps take up a plant-based online cooking course, or check out a farmer's market this weekend. Who knows? You might just have stumbled into the most delicious and effective way to solve climate change. Thank you.